Welcome. This is all minus one quick shots. All right, folks. Today, I want you to remember to say her name. Now, they said this about Breonna Taylor, who was involved with criminal enterprises with drug dealing and other related things. So they surrounded Rand Paul, the senator, several months ago while he was leaving a Trump campaign rally in D.C. Actually, wasn't the Trump campaign rally, was it? No, it was the Republican National Convention. And they surrounded him and said, say her name. Even though he had a no-knock warrant bill on the floor that he was trying to get through, right? Named after Breonna Taylor. Yet they have no clue. Who is they? Well, the leftists, of course, the people who are always uninformed and derisive. They are essentially just there to yell and scream about anything going on in the world, and they could care less about any sort of facts. Ben Shapiro was not right. Facts may not care about your feelings, but I can tell you right now that people that are highly emotive and feeling could care less what facts you bring to them. In fact, we know that is how this works. This works this way because, well, we have cognitive biases. And one of those biases is the backfire effect. When you are presented information, you double down. It's how these things work. So guys, with that and saying her name, why aren't we talking about Ashli Babbitt? Why aren't we talking about her? I know I'm talking about her. I mention her on occasion. Some other people do. But why is the mainstream media not covering this? They keep floating this narrative that there was a cop that died because of the Capitol insurrection. Well, that is an untrue narrative, yet they keep saying so. The gentleman died the next day. He was fine. He went home. He talked to his brother, everything else. It was unrelated. Just like the 2 heart attacks and the woman that had whatever she had, that supposedly she got trampled. I don't remember the exact thing that happened there, but she had a medical condition. All these people had medical conditions. I don't know how many people died in D.C. on January 6, 2021, but I guarantee you it was more than what the media said, because people die all the time in hospitals, at their home, in car accidents. All over, folks. It is a part of life. Memento mori. Remember, you shall die. But Ashli Babbitt was something different. She was a woman who was there, who didn't think that her vote counted. She was there to tell the Senate and the Congress, hey, listen, you need to audit this thing. You're disenfranchising me. She's a woman, guys. She's a woman. The left should love her. I know she was white, but still, she was a woman. And she served. But you know what? It's never about what they say it is. It's only truly about the politics. And that's the issue. And this needs to be understood by you. Not just when talking to friends or acquaintances or someone you run into or family members who might be lefties. No. No, you need to remember this and how the government acts. How they act and how they handle the narrative and the prosecution when it comes to the team sport of politics. This is by Taylor Hanson, published the 14th. That was 2 days ago. As reported earlier, the Biden Justice Department announced Wednesday it has closed the investigation to the homicide death of Trump supporter Ashli Babbitt that took place inside the Capitol during the January 6th incident. I'm not going to use that language, even though I've already said it. Screw that. It was an incident. It seemed like there was wrong all around, but frankly, if the government represented the people, such a thing never would have happened. And it is nothing in comparison to what we've been witnessing for the last 7, 8, 9, nearly 10 years of Antifa and BLM. Sorry, just wasn't. Not comparable. Burning down cities because scumbags die in lawful shootings. It's just not the same thing, right? This was while Congress was meeting in a joint session, blah, 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 blah. Babbitt, who was unarmed, was shot and killed without apparent warning by a plainclothes police officer as she climbed through a broken window in a door in the speaker lobby. The officer's name was not released. But we do know the officer's name, and from Taylor Hanson as well. This is from his Twitter page. The identity of Ashli Babbitt's shooter is Lieutenant Michael Leroy Bird. Now, even saying this risks me being yeeted because this is what they do. Facebook, as well as Twitter, has both canceled, yeeted, whatever, any postings about Patrisse Cullors and her investing money in 4 homes, $3 million worth of money. That is the head of BLM. Multiple mainstream media outlets have known this, but they refuse to run the story, that is. So, this is the gentleman. Now, sorry if that's not super clear, but this is what I got. So this was our shooter. So what do we have? We have a black man who is in the federal government, basically a federal police officer, shot a white woman. No one's crying or talking about racism. No one is crying or asking for his identity other than folks on the right. By the way, folks, I've said the incident that happened the other day where the female police officer shot instead of tased, what's his name? Dwight Wright or whatever his name is. Dante Wright. I don't know why I keep saying Dwight. She should be prosecuted. These people need to be held to standards. You do this so that those people in this field of law enforcement make sober decisions when under stress. And if they cannot, they are not cut out for the job. I'm not saying mistakes won't be made. Of course they will be. We are all human. There is no getting around the mistakes. The DOJ stated that shooting her dead without warning was appropriate. Evidently, this is the new standard for murder in our country. I don't know about a new standard, but it is the old standard that's been around of politics. The left gets away with what it wants to get away with. Always has, always will, because it is the nature of the world. People are naturally leftist, not the other way around. You have to be taught. You have to be educated. You have to be exposed to socialization, religion, tradition, respect. Without those things, well, we see what it creates. It creates a generation or many generations of narcissists, because that's exactly what we've created here in the Western world in the last 50 or 60 years. The statement concluded, the investigation revealed no evidence to establish that at the time, the officer fired a single shot at Mrs. Babbitt, hitting her in the neck, by the way, and she bled out. Probably not a very fun time for her. The officer did not reasonably believe that it was necessary to do so in self-defense or in defense of the members of Congress and others evacuating the House chamber. Acknowledging the tragic loss of life and offering condolences to Mrs. Babbitt's family, the U.S. Attorney's Office and U.S. Department of Justice therefore have closed investigation on this matter. Babbitt was a 35-year-old Air Force veteran who left behind a husband, Aaron. The couple ran a pool service business in Spring Valley, California. So she flew all the way out to California, or from California, to say, hey, listen to me, government. I served. I'm fed up with this. I'm fed up with you ignoring me. And she died because of it. On Wednesday afternoon, the lead attorney representing the Babbitt family, Terry Roberts, issued a press release following the DOJ's earlier announcement. Roberts explained, a press release issued by the U.S. Attorney's Office declared that the investigation revealed no evidence to establish beyond a reasonable doubt that the officer willfully committed a violation of the 18 U.S.C. Section 242. This double negative is an odd way of explaining the basis for not bringing charges. It plainly glosses over the obvious problems of squaring the decision not to prosecute with the known facts. The actual evidence is this: the officer shot an unarmed woman who was not an immediate threat to him or any member of Congress. This is inconsistent with any claim of self-defense. Roberts then ended the statement by stating the legal team's decision to proceed with their goal of true justice. We strongly disagree with the U.S. Attorney's decision, but we are not dissuaded from our goal of ultimately vindicating Ashli Babbitt's constitutional rights in the civil arena. Good. And here's the press release. And he said the shooting death was plain murder. The officer did not warn Babbitt and disappeared after he shot her in cold blood. Yep. And that is essentially the case, guys. Here we have another little tweet by him from the 13th. It says, I'll leave you all with this. Whoops. Well, things happen. Things happen, folks. I lost my tweet. We'll just go right up here. We'll find it again. It's a little bit further down here. He says something about leaving you with this. Well, here's that. Ashli Babbitt's legal team response. You can go find this again. Taylor Hanson, who is a journalist. What was I looking for here? Of course, we have riot stuff as these things go. Here we go. This is what I was looking for. Mike Bird has no trigger discipline and was aiming his firearm at his colleagues directly prior to gunning down Ashli Babbitt. Well, that's him right there, and that firearm is definitely pointed at this guy. I don't think there's any way around that. I know it's an angle, but yeah. And his finger is on, maybe it's on the outside of the trigger guard, but it actually looks like it's on the inside. So yeah, not good. Not good at all. And yeah, we can see that. I don't think Ashli was climbing through anything. Of course, getting the actual video footage is a whole nother thing. In any case, aside from my little hiccup there of losing the tweet and all, the point, of course, to all this is what are the media narratives and what are the narratives they will push. Like I've said it time and again, you have to realize this is asymmetric warfare. The folks on the left run and control everything. We cannot fight symmetrically with them. This is why trying to go head-to-head with them is idiotic and a suicide mission. This is why I do not advocate for certain protest. If you want to, if you know you're going to be in a huge conservative protest where you're going to be relatively safe, sure, go for that. But I don't advocate showing up to left-wing protests. I don't advocate for going out, stirring up trouble or doing anything like that. What I advocate for is saying, let's realize how dire the situation is. Let's realize what is dire in the moment. Say with legislation, like all the Supreme Court packing that they're talking about, or gun control or whatever else. Most of that won't happen, won't go through, but it's showing you their hand. And what they're doing is they're probing the public to see essentially if they're ready for it or not. And they'll keep doing this, and within 10 to 15 years, it'll be through. It'll be pushed. These things will be realities. And I can promise you this because I'm old enough to know, and actually have been rather politically aware since I was pretty young. It's like probably 10 or so when I first started getting politically aware. So, I mean, I wasn't truly aware until I was about 25, but still, guys, the point is something like this, that this leftward lurch forward is going to continue. There's no true stopping it unless we break away from it. And the reason why there's no true stopping it is because right now the culture is utterly screwed. The judges are ridiculous in so many cases. The fact that this man could not be found guilty of murder when It was quite clear, and they're trying to get Derek Chauvin right now because he had a knee on a guy for a little bit. I mean, again, if Derek Chauvin did something wrong, I do want him punished. My initial reaction to that was, man, that's horrible. But I didn't know more to it. I also have a solution now. I'm not just complaining. I say train law enforcement officers as EMS, not all of them, some of them, have them roll around with other law enforcement officers. If you have a partner, buddy team, say you have 6 units on patrol, 1 corporal over them or whatever it might be, right, as the head of that little group, one of those guys out of your 6 guys, make them a medic. Pay for the money, pay for their education, pay for their training. You do that, and you're going to have less incidences like that. Things like Tony Timpa won't happen as much, right? And maybe there was no stopping Tony Timpa's death either. But at least we can try to provide aid more quickly, with more brevity, so that these people can maybe survive, or at least optically, it looks like somebody tried. Somebody gave them a chance. I don't know if this will just get memory hold, guys. Ashli Babbitt, I'm not going to sit here and say she should be a martyr or anything like that, but like the reality is she didn't deserve to die for walking through the Capitol building, which we know, excuse me, we know the Capitol Police allowed people into. Well, some of those people broke in, but we also know from the footage, by the way, they're not releasing this footage, the footage of Ashli Babbitt's shooting, even though the Capitol building has cameras everywhere. We know from the footage that people basically were quite polite when they walked through. And one of the only people that we have footage of being an agitator was a leftist that CNN put on and eventually got arrested. So I don't know, guys. I don't know. But that is the news on that. And it'll probably get memory hold, and we'll never hear about it again, except for from folks like me. And I don't know if that's disturbing to you or not. It's quite disturbing to me, but it tells me that we can't be a part of this system. This is a failed state. It's a failed system. The laws are not applied equally. And I'm not just talking about between the elites and the plebes. I'm talking about between political ideologies. And that, my friends, is a dangerous state to be in. It's time to break away. It's time to get off on our own. It's time to start thinking local, because the last 100 years of Leviathan centralized government has done nothing but destroy and erode our liberties and bring things like this. With all that said, folks, this has been All Minus One Quick Shots, and I wish you all well.